Welcome to class, another episode of Ask the Teacher. Coming to you from the Waffle Suits of Kanu Street, Nakuru. It's a nice place, try it out. Very friendly prices, by the way. To our question of the day. I'm 16 years old. I want to have sex, but I'm scared of the pain of losing virginity. Well, I'm 16 years old, I want to have sex, but I'm scared of the pain of losing virginity. What should I do? What should I do? I like it that you start off by saying you are afraid, which means you have not yet resolved what you want to do, but also which tells me you are already entertaining the idea. And the fact that you are scared of pain tells me you are a girl. And this basically boils down to choices. You have a choice here to make. Allow me to break this down and say that for every action, and you have learned this in physics, for every action there will be an equal and opposite reaction. And that is a principle of life. And what you're asking here is, what kind of choices do you need to make? And what kind of consequences do you expect? And so allow me to break this and say, there is a principle called the 3C principle of life. It is a Teacher Teresa principle. The first C talks about challenges. In this life, you will meet challenges. And challenges are things that come our way that we might not have control over, but they keep coming. But like somebody said, you cannot stop birds from flying over your head, but you can stop them from building a nest. The allure, the attraction of teenage sex is everywhere, but the choice of whether you get involved into it or not is yours. So these things will come. You'll be enticed to sex, you'll be enticed to drugs, you'll be enticed to go into exile, you'll be enticed to so many things, to rebellion to your parents, to cheating in the exam. You'll be enticed, but what do? Those are challenges of life, which takes me to my second C, which is choices. So choices are the options that you have whenever you have a challenge. And every time you have a choice to make, there will always be two or more options. And sometimes you have a bad and a good option, a constructive and a destructive option, but also sometimes you can have two destructive options or two constructive options. Options will always be there. So in this case, you are asking, what do I do? So you are looking for the option. But that option should be measured against the third C, which is consequences. So every time you want to pick an option, I just want you to know that choices have consequences. And I know you have had that many times. Is that every option you make, it will have consequences. Consequences are the outcomes, the results of our choices. So even in this particular issue of having sex as a young person, you need to ask yourself this: if I take this challenge is there, I have an option. If I take option A, what are my consequences? If I take option B, what are my consequences? So broadly, every time you are faced with a challenge as a young person, whatever kind of challenge it is, you have always to remember that within that challenge, you are not without options. Within the options, you have to weigh your options to consider the consequences. That's the way you will learn your life. And it doesn't just apply to drugs and sex, it applies to every area of your life. So should you have sex? Let me say this, you have a challenge on your hands. What are your options? Yes and no for this case. What are the consequences if you do? What are the consequences if you don't? You need to measure them up and then ask yourself, what options do you take, knowing the consequences? Don't just think through. Look at what might become of the choices that you make. That's what the teacher has to say.